What's up, Grace Girls? Welcome to the Allow Yourself Grace podcast, where we focus on helping Black women change their lives by discarding negative thoughts, pivoting in the right direction, and shifting their mindset through cultivating a trauma free lifestyle. I'm your host, Courtney Kristen, educator, content creator, life coach, counselor, and mental health enthusiast living in Houston, Texas. I created the Allow Yourself Grace podcast because I wanted to create a space for Black women to share their thoughts, feelings, and stories that make them who they are without fear of judgment. Allow Yourself Grace provides emotional support and encouragement within the Grace Girls community for women in need of non biased opinions from women other than family and friends. Personal development, self care, career, faith are among many of the topics we will discuss on this platform. Allow Yourself Grace podcast is here to encourage Black women to live unapologetically and thrive in being authentically who they are and were designed to be an entire vibe. No topics are off limits. We will cover it all. Now, grab a notebook, pen, sit back, and enjoy the show. All right. Hey, Grace Girls. Welcome to the Allow Yourself Grace podcast, where we teach women how to change, pivot, and shift their lives in a new direction. Super excited to have you guys. As you can see, your girl is by herself today. And y'all know, whenever I'm by myself, that means I have a word to bring to you guys. And so, yeah, it's going to be a fire episode. I hope that everybody has been doing well and, getting ready to finish out the fourth quarter of the year strong. There's just been a lot going on, but hopefully with you guys and for myself, that it's all positive things. And if it's not, then we're going to make sure that you have the right tools to help you navigate this season of your life. Okay. And so I want to jump into today's topic. Today's topic is trusting God and overcoming worry. Wow. These two things sometimes seem to be the hardest things for people to do consistently, right? It's hard to be consistent at these things. It's not that, you don't do it every now and then, right? But when life started lifing, as everybody likes to say, that's when you really get tested, and that's when you really start to see, like, man, do I really trust God? Why am I worrying if I trust him? Like, what is going on? And so that's when you have to do those little check-ins with yourself to know, like, hey, there's something deeper going on here, and I really need to check myself. I really need to check my surroundings, and I really need to dive into the word and what God says I should be doing during these times. And so I have a quote for this episode that I want to start with before we get into the deep dive of the episode. And the quote says, "Worrying does not take away from tomorrow's troubles, it takes away from today's peace." Worrying does not take away from tomorrow's troubles, it takes away from today's peace. Y'all, when I read this, like, this really, really, really resonated with me, because it's like, just because you spend the day worrying about something doesn't mean that tomorrow it's not going to still be there, right? The issue's not going to still be there. And it's like, we spend our days worrying and worrying about the future instead of being present in the now, right? And, this is so much easier said than done, right? So much easier said than done. When we think about, worrying and just stressing about bills and stressing about family and stressing about friends and things that aren't going right in our lives, it's like that time could be utilized to be giving thanks, to be giving God gratitude for what we do have and the things that are going right in our lives. Because I guarantee the good always outweighs the bad. Like, no matter what, you have something to be thankful for. And it's just nostalgic that I'm talking about this right now because right now we just enter fall and it's harvest time. And what better time to start planting your seeds of gratitude and of thankfulness than now? Like, this is the perfect season for that. We're coming up on the holidays. These are the times where people become stressful when it should be a joyful time. So these are things that we need to think about when we're sitting here stressing and worrying about things that really don't matter. And so when I was thinking about this topic, I'm like, man, I don't want to get on camera and forget what I have to say. So I made sure that I meditated on what I had to say and I wrote it down because I want to make sure that I get the points out that God gave me. And so the first thing he gave me was we always talk good, right? We get on social media, we say all these positive things when deep down and in our minds and in our hearts we're battling some things. We're going through all stages of what I like to call emotional roller coaster, and we're not really taking time to sit still and deal with those emotions because the scariest thing you can do is sit by yourself. When you sit by yourself, you hear so much. God will start to reveal things to you. And that's why most people like to keep busy. They like to be around a lot of people. They always like to be out because it keeps you from really sitting with yourself and really, really getting to know who you are and taking ownership of those emotions and facing those emotions and facing those demons in the times that you're silent and you're sitting still. But that's when you hear the most. Like, if you wanna know more about yourself, take some time to, like, sit still and really just listen. Learn to be proud of yourself. And that's why I wanna go back to the gratitude because that's where gratitude comes in. It's like, you've put in a lot of work already, and if you think about where you were 5 years ago and where you are now, you're probably a totally different complete I mean, you're probably totally a completely different person, or at least you should be. And if you're not, then it's like, man, I really need to think about what I can do differently to change the trajectory of my life because it shouldn't look like this. And so I think part of trusting God is taking action and taking some accountability because you can't put it all on him. And so I think that's where we waver in our trust is because we expect him to do everything. We expect him to perform miracles and to just take us and put us in a mansion when we land on the couch every day. That's not realistic. And it's like we have to be realistic when we're talking to God and when we're asking God for things and when we're developing our trust and our bond with God. We have to be cognitive of what we're doing because we all have a role in our spiritual life. And you have to make sure that you're doing your part to fulfill your role and not just expecting God to do everything for you. Know that God will never steer you in the wrong direction. Like, if you're in a place that you don't like, that's uncomfortable, it's for a reason. There's some lesson that you can learn in the space that you're in. And so I missed posting a podcast last week and it really, really bothered me because I've been consistent. And so I'm like, I don't care how I look this week. I don't care how I feel this week. I'm gonna make sure that I get my content out because I know the vision God gave me with my podcast and I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, the season's not over. I gotta finish the season. I never like to start something that I don't execute and finish. And so there's like God's been really like dealing with me on some things because it's like I've been starting things and not finishing in them. And I'm like, I need to sit in silence and really, really hone in on why these things aren't getting done. What can I do? And what I really thought about during this process, I'm like, okay, I need to stop trying to do all the things and hone in on let's start with what's most important or what's most feasible to get done and then work my way down. Like Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't eat an elephant in one day. Just every day, if I'm doing something to work towards those goals, then I know that eventually, whatever it is, it may not look like what I wrote down, but whatever it is going to come to pass. And so I don't have to worry about not getting it done when I'm working on it every single day. Eventually, it's going to get done. It may take months, it may take weeks, it may take hours, but eventually it's going to get done if I keep working at it. And so my whole thing for, finishing, my whole idea for finishing the fourth quarter of the year is to be consistent and finish strong. And so what that means for me is that every day I'm working towards those goals that I set at the beginning of the year. Um some other things you can do to start really building your trust with God, and I've been doing this a lot. It's like really diving into the word. I'm telling you, like, the word will give you so much clarity on why you should trust him, because he makes promises, y'all. And I've talked about this in another episode. Is like he always keeps his promises. And so if you're reading the word and you know the word for yourself, it's easier for you to go back and remind God of his word. Like, hey, you said in Matthew, whatever, that, remind him of his word, remind him what he promised you, and it's gonna come to pass, but always remember that it's never on your time, it's always on his timing. And every time you feel overwhelmed, remind him of his word. Pray about it and rest in knowing that he said it and that settles it. Um God wants to see you win. I know sometimes it feels like everything's coming after you, like everything is like one thing after another. It's like, man, like, when is this when is this pressure gonna let it up? I said I was tough, I said I can handle it, I said I was built for this, but man, like, when does it stop? And it's in those moments that you have to rest in the word, like, show him that you trust him during those times. That's all it is. It's all a test. And, you just have to know that he is who he is and believe that. I literally, was it this past Friday? I had a whole, it was crazy. So it's a whole incident where, the tears came and I was like, you know what? I'm upset right now. I'm crying. I'm hurt. It's all the emotions are flowing. But at the same time, in my mind, I was like, I was telling the devil, I was telling him out loud, actually. I was riding in my car and I was like, man, come on, devil. You got to come better than that because you're not going to win. I mean, tears and all, snot and all, but you're not going to win because I know who covers me. I know who's the head of my life and I know who has me, and I'm 35, and like all these years he's seen me through every situation, and it's like I know he's not going to leave me now because he always comes through even when I think like it is what it is. Here he comes knocking down the door. And so I literally like told the devil, like, come on, man. What else you got? Cause look, I'm ready. Cause I'm sick of you. Like, and sometimes you really just have to be like that because he needs to know that I trust God so much that you can keep coming with whatever, but I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in because I know who has me and I know who covers me. And so that you become so much more powerful when you have that ammo, you know? When you have God on your side, you have a little extra ammo. So I love when people are like, "Man, I don't see how you do it." man, you do all the things. Man, you're this, you're that. And it's like, man, y'all, it's nobody but God. It's not me. I don't do it all by myself. He helps me. I rest in him. He gives me the strength. He gives me the peace. And so those are things that people need to know. Like when you see people who are successful, ask them about what they do. Ask them about their regimens, because I'm gonna say I always lead with God. None of it is possible without Him. We can't do any of it on our own. Like there's somebody who didn't get up this morning. There's somebody who wish they had more days on this earth, and we're sitting here complaining about the little things instead of trusting Him. Instead of just trusting God, we want to worry, we want to stress. And it's like, to overcome that worry, you just have to put in a little extra time into your spiritual regimen to make sure that you're equipped for when the devil comes. Because y'all, when he comes, he be swinging and you don't even have time to like duck. Like, you don't have time to like brace yourself for some of the punches he be throwing. And so it's like, if you're not building up your spiritual toolbox, you're going to be weak. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be stressed. And you're going to be just distraught because you don't have the ammo that you need to fight the devil. And so, the moment when you totally learn to rely on Him, it's in that moment you really begin to see the glory of God and you begin to experience freedom. And it's like a weight will be lifted off of you. And whenever you're battling the worry and you're battling doubt, and you're like, man, I love God, but I don't know if I trust him. Oh, well, where he at? Because I'm over here getting beat up. I'm over here outside. I'm over here, all these things people go through, like real life hits you, and it really, really tests your faith sometime. And it's only a test, but it's like if you go into action mode and you start to build up your spiritual toolbox, then will you start to see results, and you just stay consistent at it. Like, don't ever waver in your faith, because if you have to stand on something, and if I'm going to stand on anything, it's going to be God, and it's going to be on his promises, because friends will leave you, family will leave you, people won't be there when you need them, people aren't easily accessible, but he's always near, and he's never too far away. And so just rest in that. Like, just rest in it, because he's going to come through. I know the wait seems long. It seems like when is it going to happen? But just be patient, and just know that there's always someone doing worse than you, and always look around and be like, "Man, what do I have that someone would love to have?" Before we complain. Like, there's plenty of things that we all want. But be thankful for your now, and be thankful for what you have now, because the best is yet to come. It's coming, and you're gonna be like, man, I had to go through this so that I can share this with somebody that's going through. And now they're like, okay, well, if they can get through it, I can get through it. And so that's the importance of us sharing our experiences and sharing our knowledge. This is a touchy episode for me, because in this season of my life, I've really been tested. Like, is this really what you want? This is what you say you want. I'm going to test you. And that's how it is a lot of times. It's just God really equipping us with the tools that we need to utilize in the next level of our lives. Because we're all going to do levels, but it's like, can you handle it? Are you ready for it? I have to make sure, this is God talking. Like, I have to make sure that you're emotionally equipped for where I'm about to take you on your journey. I have to make sure that you have a level of discernment that you need to make sure that you're having the right people around you. You're having the right people in your circle. And it hurts sometimes,
And it's like, man, the people that you thought were going to be with you on your journey, sometimes they're not there. And it's okay because you know God's going to bring new people. My husband and I are hosting an event, and I'm like, the people that he had in mind to invite in the beginning, I was like, I don't know about that. And so it's crazy how the list is getting narrowed down, which is cool, but it's like God is taking it and turning it into what he wants it to be. Because I swear after the first like 2 months of promoting it or whatever, I'm like, I gotta change my prayer. My prayer is now for God to just put the right people in the room. Like, don't put the people that I think should be in the room. We're gonna put the right people in the room. And so it's crazy how God just weeds out the people that you thought were gonna be there. And now he's putting the people that needs to be there and the people that wants to be there and the people that, you know, what I prayed, the right people in the room. And I love that because it's like I know God is gonna do his thing because this is what I prayed for. The vision's probably not gonna look like I envision it, but I know it's gonna be great because he has his hands on it. And so I say all that to say that's how we have to look at our lives. It's like, just know that what's happening right now in your life may not look like what you envision, but as long as God has his hands on you and he has his hands on whatever it is that you're doing, know that it's going to be great and it's going to be beyond what you can imagine or what you can think. And just keep dreaming because his plan is always bigger than ours. It's always going to be greater than what we thought. Short story, it's like for me, where I'm at today in my life, I've never would have envisioned me doing what I'm doing today. Like being behind this mic, being vulnerable to come on this camera and not have a face full of makeup, hair done, like, not worry about that. Just come on here and not worrying about being the most articulate, like coming on here and just giving it my all and just being real and just being raw. Never would have thought I would be doing that. Never would have thought I would have been in a space where I own a business, where I partner with my husband, we work together. Like these are things you're that come with how your life changes, right? And it's like it's not always planned. We want everything like in black and white. We want our list to be checked off. We want this degree, we want this job, we want this business. And sometimes things don't work out, but then you get something greater, you get something better, and you're like, man, this really fulfills me. This really makes me happy. But it wasn't on your list. And so I want us to not be so focused on our list, but be focused on trusting that God is going to take us where we need to be and put us around who we need to be around for that season of our lives and be okay with the change. Don't worry. Don't worry because you're taking away your peace. And the best thing that you can have, because you can take it all if I can't have my peace, is your peace of mind. And sadly, a lot of us, we spend a lot of time here and our minds are racing. Our thoughts are everywhere and we're just not at peace because we're worrying and we're stressing and we're taking medicine for anxiety, we're taking medicine for depression, and none of it's working. And the whole time, the real medicine is in your face, saying, lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the earth. Like, I'll be here when the medicine's gone. I'll be here when the friends are gone, when your parents are gone, when everybody's gone. I'm here and I'm waiting for you. And so I just want you guys to really, in this fourth quarter of the year, take time to get to know yourself. Take time to spend time alone with God and really just tap into who He desires for you to be. Because plenty of times it's right in our face. But we automatically, as humans, the easiest thing for us to do is to go back to the negative, which is the worry, the stress. How am I going to fix it? How am I going to do this? Well, you guys don't understand. Well, I don't have money and I don't have this, when everything you need is in him. And I've sat around groups of women for the past few months. I've been to events, I've been to things, and the main thing that people lack is faith. Like that faith thing, that thing is serious because a lot of you guys lack it. You lack faith. Like, you say you want to be around positive people, you say you want to be in a positive environment, and then when people try to pour into you by giving you knowledge and giving you advice, it's like nothing's good enough. You want to revert back to your problem. You want to talk about your problem. You want to stay there. And you have to get out of that space in order to move. You can't move when you're still trying to be stagnant, because when you focus on just the problem, just that one thing that's happening in your life, you're stagnant. And so just because I'm having a problem doesn't mean I get to stop working for the day. Like, oh, I have a whole problem today. I swear last week I was crying and working, crying and working, crying and working. I didn't care. I was just working because the work don't stop. It don't stop because you're having a problem. And I think that's where a lot of people start to get depressed and they start to worry, worry, worry. Anxiety comes in. They get anxious, you know, they just get real restless. They're not getting sleep because they don't know how to rest in the promises. You don't know how to rest that tomorrow's a new day. Your life can change in a day or a second. You just never know. And so just keep trusting that if you put in the work and if you're genuine, that God is going to do the rest. He going to do the rest. So you don't have to worry, cuz that's not your job. That's not your job. Your job is to take action, take accountability, and to just put it in his hands, because it always works out. Also, too, I want to talk a little bit about surrounding yourself around the right people. We hear that a lot. Surround yourself around people who want to see you win. Cool. But make sure that your level of discernment is on point, because what's irking me the most about these positive environments sometimes is that people have nothing to offer. And so you're coming with all the positive vibes, you're coming with all the faith, you're coming with all the goods because you didn't been prayed up, you didn't been in your prayer closet, you didn't have your prayer board, you didn't done prayer challenges, you just stay in your word, you have your regimen, you're trying. Sometimes you're going through things too, but you're getting up and you're making it happen. And it's like you get around these people that you start to like really, really dive into who they are. And they look positive, y'all, online. But you really dive into who they are and they lack substance and they lack faith and they lack knowledge because they're lazy. And what I mean by lazy is it's like I want to take. I want you to support me. I want you to come to my stuff. I want you to call me and text me, but the energy's not reciprocated. And it's like when people learn what the real secret is, it will unlock so many things that you want. But y'all are missing it. A lot of y'all ladies are missing it. I'm looking at y'all too. Y'all putting out content, y'all showing up to events, y'all having events, y'all getting on these stages, y'all doing this and that, but like it's like you're running in a circle because you haven't unlocked what the real key is, and the real key is giving. Yeah, some of y'all missed it. It's giving. It's like having a heart of reciprocation, giving out the energy that you receive and not faking it. Because one thing about me, I don't do fake. And you're gonna see it all over my face. I just don't do it because it's like I just believe that God is authentic and that he's truthful and that he's trustworthy, and I should strive to be like him. And so because I strive to be like him, if I'm not coming somewhere, if I'm not gonna do something, I'm just gonna let you know, right? And I'm not gonna take anything from you that I'm not willing to give. And so keep that in mind too when you're asking God for stuff. Just make sure that you have the heart of Christ, that you're giving out the same energy and the same things that you want to receive, and not always trying to be on the receiving end of things, because that's not cool, number one, and that's not of God. And so we just gonna leave that there. But I want y'all to adapt the mind and the heart of a giver. And in closing, so I'm gonna close out. Um, Trust God with all your heart. If you don't do anything else, put your effort into learning how to trust Him, how to give it to Him, because you can't solve it. There's just some things that we can't solve, and you just got to give up and you have to surrender and leave it there. And just know that, of course, it's human to have doubts, but don't let the doubt and the worry just take over your mind and take over your life to the point where you're not taking action. All right. Make sure you're always taking action. Make sure that you're always executing. That's my word for this month is execution. Make sure you're always doing that to the best of your ability, and you'll see results. And just stay consistent, love on somebody, help somebody, and just continue to give. And I'll see you ladies in the next episode. Peace.
Well, guys, that concludes our episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Allow Yourself Grace podcast. For additional information about today's episode, please click the link in the show notes below. To learn more about our Grace Girls community and other resources we have to offer, head over to www.allowyourselfgrace.com. Until next time, Grace Girls, I love you all. Be blessed and continue to strive for success.